Well, those are the headlines that we'll be tracking for you all evening on ET Now. First up, let me introduce our very first guest, Kalpesh Ashar of Full Circle. Excuse me. Kalpesh Ashar, who joins us now on the show. Thank you so much, Kalpesh. It's lovely having you back with us on the Money Show. I think this is a topic that we don't talk about very often. For many of us, it rarely even occurs to us because we are so busy in our day-to-day lives. But of course, with once again the pandemic keeping us locked in our homes, it may be a good time to sort of think about this again. We always say, of course, that you should take care of your finances, follow prudent financial practices, but it's important that every Indian follows this, including the low-income earners, many of who work in our homes in the form of, the domestic help, drivers, chefs, etc. It could be even the clerks and the other administrative staff and the cleaning staff at the offices. So we would like to dedicate the show to that section of, our viewers, or the people working at our current viewers' homes and offices. So first up, Kalpesh, in what way can individuals sort of offer such low income earners some sort of support, set them in the right direction in terms of their finances? Where can they start off with on that front?
Thank you, Mubina. I think this is a very, very important and I would say a crucial topic in these testing times which we are all undergoing. And like what you rightly said, this section of individuals or people who serve us day in, day out need to be taken care of. And the first and foremost thing which these people who work for you, be it your household help, your drivers, or be it clerks, or people who are not that privileged, I would say that much, what they need, first of all, is your assurance. The assurance that their jobs are secured. So if as an individual in these testing times, even your professions are hit, your salaries are hit, but if you on a humanitarian ground can first of all assure your people working at your homes, that their job is secure and their salaries are going to come to them, I think that would let them have a big sigh of relief. Now, post that, what we've seen is for the past 2-3 years, in fact, the government has tried to propagate at many quarters, at many a times they've been saying of going digital, and surely the pandemic was an unforeseen event. But the stress or the importance of a digital world was never so profound as it is right now. And what the government had said is that open your bank accounts, the money transfers would come. No one knew that this would be so much in rampant use now as much as you want. So even I would say that if you had recruited somebody earlier and had not told them to open a bank account, I think this is the right time that you should tell them that opening a bank account is of most important thing, because you can then effect in this lockdown situation a direct bank transfer for their salaries. Now, even if a person in this catch-22 situation, say for example a household help, he's there with you 24/7, but his family is, say, in his village, so his or her village, he needs to send money to them. You can do a bank transfer and he can then ask his family to withdraw the money from the respective branch back home there. So the importance of this opening a bank account is very, very important. Then the importance, you should educate them of a debit card, that how this debit card will be useful for their families, for them to necessitate all the expenses which they would require to do at some point of time. This type of basic education, even for people down the line, I think needs to be inculcated, and this is the time to do it. Because we have seen it that in a lockdown situation, all of us are pretty helpless. And the people who are serving you day in, day out, I think they are absolutely in dire straits of this money, and what more than the digital, assistance which they can get from you.
Well, I think step one is to ensure that they open a bank account for themselves, for their kids as well. If they do not have, I'm glad to notice that many domestic helps have interacted with, most of them, especially in the city, do have a bank account. So that's a good thing. But of course, I'm not sure what percentage that is. It may well be a minority. So ask your help if they have a bank account. If not, help them kickstart it. You could be the introducer as well. You could kickstart them in that right path, and then of course if they need money, you can transfer money into their account. They can use it for a variety of purposes, for education, etc. And most of the benefits as well that come from the government usually are through DBT, direct beneficiary transfer. So it comes straight into the beneficiary's bank account. If you don't have a bank account, you may not be able to get the benefit of these these government schemes. Okay, so step one, of course, is having a plain vanilla savings bank account, a Jan Dhan, bank account, if you could call it that. But is there anything beyond that for these low income earners, Kalpesh? Because obviously, given the fact that they live paycheck to paycheck, their savings are very little. They're very vulnerable to the vagaries as well. So what are the other investment avenues apart from, a basic savings account that you would recommend they could start off with for their investment journey?
See, Mubina, you rightly pointed out that once they open a bank account, there are many DBTs or many benefits which automatically come with that because their Aadhaar is recognized and all their due diligence is done. So apart from that, the first thing I would say, because they have opened a bank account, they are eligible now for a host of benefits which the government has rolled out for them. So, you could start with it in these troubled times. There is more than investment, I would say, that what they need to do on priority is to enroll themselves for a health insurance and a life insurance. I think that is the most crucial thing for themselves and their families. So even if there are two schemes, which is the Ayushman Bharat, which is the health insurance scheme which the government had rolled out. It's the world's largest health insurance scheme. It assures a 5 lakh cover for the entire family at a very minimal premium. Again, if there's a bank account and everything, it rolls out easily. Ask them to enroll for it, their families to enroll for it. Even if you have the wherewithal to pay a premium for them or their families and their health is in good condition, I think you should take the onus of having a health insurance cover for them. Nothing more important than that for in these troubled times which we are going through. Second most important is, again, linked to the bank account. If they have a bank account, they'll automatically be eligible for an auto debit. They could enroll for the life insurance scheme. So one is the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, which is like a pure term plan for them. And in that, I think there's a 2 lakh rupee cover, which they get for as minimum as 330 rupees per annum, which they could avail of. Then there's like a personal accident policy. So if there's an accidental death or a partial disability, there's the Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana. Again, a 2 lakh rupee cover. The details can be checked out because surely the bankers would be able to give the details better. But the point what I'm making is all linked to that bank account and getting that digital assistance, which otherwise in this lockdown period will be very difficult for them. The government has gone before the pandemic all out in offering these schemes to these people. Now, once the health insurance and the life insurance is in place for your people who help you out, and they're really angels for you, I think, in these troubled times, people who help you. I think what your job is to guide them on the right path. And this class of people is very vulnerable to making mistakes because in their own spectrum of people which they meet and talk and associate with, there are a lot of lousy illegal schemes which they run through chit funds and more of that, which they contribute money, and many a times, and especially I even fear to think what must have happened to all those schemes which they have put in money in these times where people are in dire straits of money for various reasons and people have lost money, is to make them aware that these are not the right things to invest. So keep them away from all these mistakes and ask them to choose a right avenue. So the Jan Dhan account, once it's opened, a bank account, inculcate the habit of savings. After that, you tell them there's a bank RD which they can put in minimal amount. Every month they can put in money. They can, once the money is accumulated, they can transfer that to a bank FD. Show them those basic steps, the ABC of investing, which we have also gone through. And that hand holding is very necessary. So that investment steps are very necessary. Then even in the small savings scheme, which is government assured, the national savings certificate, as low as 100 rupees, you could start investing in that. Once that, I think that basic primary steps are taken, then you could even introduce them to having mutual funds in their portfolio. Mutual funds now, certain mutual funds start with as low as 100 rupee per month SIPs you could do. So lay the base first, make them aware, keep them away from basic mistakes, because if they commit mistakes, I think there's no, looking back for them, and then put them on the right path. So even the yojanas which I have just spelled out, there is also for an accomplished, help which you have at home who can afford. For the girl child, there is a Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana specially designed for the girl child. They could have a, look at that. You could monitor it for them and be their mentor.
I'm glad you brought up that point actually about many of the times there being these chit funds of sorts that promise you a certain assured return which is too good to be true, and more often than not it is this vulnerable section of the society who often is very gullible as well, who in the hopes of doubling their money and trebling the money as promises are made, tends to put a big chunk of their money, and that's what all these individuals need to be wary of, that if it is too good to be true, then it probably is. So I think that's a very valid point as well you mentioned. Kalpesh, you mentioned now the Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, which is for the girl child, it gives you a great rate of return as well. What are the other government schemes and yojanas that the lower income individuals could invest in? And obviously we'd like to stick to the government based ones, because there is absolute safety, surety as well. So what are the other schemes that are available for these lower income individuals which they may not even be aware of, or we can as well enlighten these individuals about?
So obviously, the problem here is that even in the government schemes, the problem many a time these people have is of liquidity. So there is nothing more, more concrete and more stronger than a PPF, which even we invested. But the waiting period in that PPF is 15 years. We all know it's a lock-in type of a thing. Now, if you have a household help or somebody who's been with you for a long time and they are going to be with you for a long time, or if you could contribute some amount, they could contribute some amount. How generally a PF works, a provident fund in a company works. So even their sense of responsibility is there. You could give them some money apart from the salaries, obviously, which they are earning. You could have that thing in that, but liquidity is an issue. Now, apart from that, there's also for the blue-collared workers, the Atal Pension Yojana. So, the people who could contribute as much as 1,000 rupee per month type of a thing, they get that as retirement benefits. So the Atal Pension Yojana, again, is a very concrete type of a retirement planning scheme for the people who work for you. You could offer it to them. And the third one, in the government space, which I would, again, go back to, is the normal conventional post office RDs or the post office FDs. Because in fact, if you see the post office FDs, even for a 1, 2 or 3 year period, they are offering interest rate which is better than your normal bank FDs, which we see in the public sector or the private sector banks. So the post office FDs is a good option. You have the 1, 2, 3 year time frame. Otherwise, I think the best product for them to keep on chipping in like an SIP in the government, arena of investments is the RD, the recurring deposit. That could be done hands-on. They could, keep on looking at their wealth slowly but surely going up.
Okay, so there you have it, all that you need to know. By the way, Kalpesh, as a healthy financial practice for most of us, you and many, experts advise that when it comes to your income, you should follow a very simple rule, right? 50, 30, 20. 50% should be towards investments, 50% towards your essential expenses, 30% saved for investments, etc., and then 20% on other discretionary expenses. How would you tweak this rule for this category of earners?
Frankly speaking, Mobina, this would be a very ideal situation if in practice this could be inculcated for your household help, because that would create a very good financial platform for them. But in reality, we know that their mindset, their goals, their capacity their limitations would not at a given point of time help them follow this 50-30-20 type of a rule, because there are many, I would say, baggages which they carry. There are a lot of social, commitments which they have. So it's a little bit difficult. But to put it plainly, I would simply say that if they could just stay away from the mistakes which they make, and even if they are spending for their commitments or something, something like 70%, if they have a 20% commitment to pay somebody a loan which they have taken, if their fathers have taken something, but at least I would say 10% to 10 to 15%, if they can save every month in a very concrete financial product, I think they will have a good future.
Well, yeah, I understand. On the on paper, of course, it's a great ratio, but sometimes, owing to very difficult circumstances, maybe like the ones we are in right now, we deviate quite a bit from this ratio. So that's, of course, Kalpesh talking about, how this rule can be applied even for the low-income earners. And, I hope all of you, use this video clip to explain to, the low-income earners around you about how they can kickstart their investment journey and their, savings journey. Okay, well, let's now take on board some questions and queries then from our viewers. And, if you'd like to talk to our viewers, you'd like to talk to Kalpesh, you can email us. Our email address is themanishow@etnow.tv. Okay, we have our first question from Mr. M.B. Ulegari. He says, I've opted for SIPs of about 63,000 in different funds. Okay, so he's got a total of 63,000 rupees, which he splits in various funds. His aim is to amass 2 crore rupees for retirement, which will be in the next 7 years. Kindly review my portfolio. Okay, lots of funds over there. I'll just take the liberty of pointing them onto our viewer screens. 18 funds, in fact. A couple from ABSL, a couple from ICICI Pru, Axis, DSB, SBI, Mirae Asset, UTI, HDFC, UTI. What's also interesting is there are so many thematic funds as well. For example, HDFC Housing Opportunities, UTI Transportation, there's also ABSL Banking and Financial. So there are all kinds of different funds that have been sprinkled in over there. So 2 questions here, Kalpesh. Firstly, I'm not sure if this 2 crore figure is the only figure that, Mr. Ulegadi is thinking that he will rely on for his retirement, which I assume will be for another 20-30 years. If that's so, is this enough? And the second question, do you think we need 18 funds in a portfolio?
So I'll answer it quite objectively. First of all, 18 schemes is far, far too many. You need to trim it down by at least 12 schemes. You just need good 6 schemes in your portfolio, in an equity-based portfolio, I'm telling, if it's for a period of 7 to 10 years, which you asked. So I don't want to run through the 18 schemes which you have, but Mr. Ulegari, just, trim it down to having one large cap, one flexi cap type of a fund. You could have one thematic fund, but be very careful about it, whichever you have, because timing a thematic fund is very difficult. That is just for that little bit of alpha if you know what you're doing. And the remaining 2 to 3 schemes can be between your mid and small cap spectrum which you have. So between a large and a flexi cap, you could have 50% of a portfolio, and the remaining 50% could be between mid and small cap. So 6 schemes maximum should do the job for you. And secondly, the amount what you're putting in 63,000 per month, aiming at a corpus of 2 crore in 7 years, that's going to be way far too short. What you would require is approximately anything between 150,000 to 160,000 per month for the next 7 years or so, growing at a moderate rate of around 12% per annum to help you reach that figure, if you do not have any other products lined up for your retirement goal.
Okay. Also, what about that figure of 63,000, as an SIP figure? Just speaking purely objectively, let's say if I want to reach a goal of 2 crore rupees for 7 years, would 63,000 rupees per month cut it out for me?
No, so that's what I just mentioned, that you require approximately 150,000 per month to reach a figure of 2 crore in 7 years. 63,000 is far too less. You would probably end up at around 80-90 lakh rupees in 7 years if it grows even at 12% CAGR.
Okay, great. I think, but with that, we are out of time. So we've received a few questions more, but we'll not be able to take them. Maybe next time. Kalpesh, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. Hope you and your family stay safe and come out safely from this pandemic.
Thank you very much.
And that goes for you, our viewers, as well. Stay safe, stay indoors, don't step out. The situation is very dire. For now, we'll wrap it up on The Money Show. Enjoy your weekend.